Nobody makes a Grammy-winning song in their bedroom at 13. That is not how the music industry works. You need producers, you need a label, you need a budget, a team, a marketing strategy, a carefully constructed rollout plan designed by people who have spent decades understanding how fame gets manufactured. You need the machine. Billie Eilish did not have the machine. She had a bedroom, a microphone, an older brother who knew how to produce, and a voice so completely unlike anything the industry had heard in years that when Ocean Eyes found its way onto SoundCloud in 2016, the machine came looking for her, not the other way around. But here is what the success story conveniently skips over: the anxiety disorder that made leaving her house genuinely difficult, the eating disorder she fought privately while becoming one of the most photographed teenagers on earth, the Tourettes syndrome she managed publicly with a grace nobody asked her to demonstrate, the depression that sat underneath the aesthetic the whole world was buying merchandise around, and the music industry, the same machine that came looking for her, that tried to commodify every single piece of her pain before she was old enough to fully understand what was being taken. This is the full story. It starts in Los Angeles, California. Not the glamorous Hollywood version, the working artist version. Her parents, Maggie Baird and Patrick O'Connell, are both actors who never quite broke through to the level the industry reserves for the very few. They homeschool Billie and her older brother Finneas in a small house in Highland Park, a neighborhood that sits far from the Malibu mansions and Beverly Hills estates where the entertainment industry's winners tend to congregate. The household is creative by necessity and by nature. Music is everywhere. Songwriting is simply what the family does. Finneas, 4 years older than Billie, is already writing and producing his own music by the time Billie is old enough to understand what songwriting actually means. She starts writing songs at 11, performs in the Los Angeles Children's Chorus, takes vocal lessons, dances seriously enough that a hip injury at 14 derails what had been a genuine potential career path in dance, a loss that sends her deeper into music at exactly the moment when the music needs her full attention. She's 12 years old and already losing things that matter to her, already learning that the path forward is never the one you planned. Finneas writes Ocean Eyes. Originally intended for his own band, he plays it for Billie. Something about her voice against that specific production is so immediately right that the song stops belonging to his band the moment she sings it. They record it in Finneas's bedroom, on equipment that cost a fraction of what professional studios charge per hour. No label, no producer, no industry involvement of any kind. Just a brother and a 13-year-old sister in a small room making something that neither of them fully understands yet. Their dance teacher asks for something the class can use for a choreography project. They upload Ocean Eyes to SoundCloud so she can access it easily. The internet finds it. Within days, the song is spreading in ways that have nothing to do with marketing and everything to do with the simple fact that it is extraordinary. Music blogs pick it up. Playlist curators share it. Strangers are sending it to other strangers with the specific urgency people reserve for things they need someone else to hear immediately. Interscope Records comes calling. She is 13 years old and the machine has arrived at her door. Here is where the story gets complicated in ways the industry never fully acknowledges. Signing a 13-year-old to a major label is not a straightforward act of opportunity. It is a negotiation where one party has decades of experience extracting value from talent, and the other party is a child whose parents are working actors with no music industry infrastructure behind them. The power imbalance is total, and it is built into the structure of every conversation that happens in those rooms. Billie and Finneas negotiate something genuinely unusual, creative control that most established artists twice her age cannot claim. They will produce the music themselves, in the bedroom, on their own terms. The label will distribute and market but will not dictate sound or image or artistic direction. It is either the best deal a 13-year-old has ever negotiated with a major label or a carefully constructed narrative that obscures a more complicated reality. Possibly both simultaneously. Don't Smile at Me arrives in 2017, and the audience that found Ocean Eyes expands dramatically. She is 14, 15, making music about anxiety and dark emotions and the specific interior weather of adolescence with a directness that most adult artists spend entire careers trying to access. The aesthetic arrives fully formed. Dark clothing, baggy silhouettes deliberately designed to prevent the media from commenting on and commodifying her body. Green roots, spiderweb imagery, an entire visual world constructed around the music that feels genuinely original in a landscape of carefully manufactured pop aesthetics. She is a teenager. She built this herself. When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go arrives in March 2019, and it is one of those rare albums that lands like a cultural event rather than a product release. Bad Guy becomes Inescapable, a song built on the most minimal possible production that somehow carries the weight of something enormous. Bury a Friend, Zanny, I Wish You Were Gay, Ilo Milo. Each track a different entry point into an interior world so specifically observed and so honestly rendered that millions of teenagers who had spent years feeling unseen suddenly feel seen completely. The album debuts at #1 in multiple countries simultaneously. She becomes the first artist born in the 2000s to have a #1 album. She wins all 4 major Grammy categories in a single night: Best New Artist, Album of the Year, Record of the Year, Song of the Year. The first woman in history to sweep all 4 in one evening. She is 17 years old. But here's what those Grammy photographs do not show. The Tourettes syndrome she has managed since childhood, tics that she controls publicly through enormous effort, and that she speaks about with the specific exhaustion of someone who has been managing something invisible for years. The eating disorder that develops under the pressure of being one of the most photographed teenagers on earth. A body constantly analyzed and commented on by strangers who believe their opinion of a child's physical appearance is somehow relevant. The depression that sits underneath the dark aesthetic like a foundation nobody photographed, but everybody benefited from commercially. The industry that came looking for her at 13 took the pain and the darkness and the rawness that made the music extraordinary, and built merchandise and marketing campaigns around it. The aesthetic that Billie constructed as protection became the product. And the line between an artist sharing her truth and an industry extracting value from a teenager's mental health struggles is thinner and more uncomfortable than the Grammy night photographs suggest. She speaks about all of this publicly, without bitterness but without softness either. She names what happened to her body image when the media began dissecting her appearance. She names the depression, she names the Tourette's, she names the eating disorder. Because the alternative, staying silent while the world consumes a carefully edited version of who she is not something she is willing to do. Happier Than Ever arrives in 2021, and it is a deliberate departure, warmer, more sonically varied, a document of someone stepping out of the darkness, not because the darkness was not real, but because she is more than the darkness, and always was. She dyes her hair blonde, she changes the aesthetic. The internet has a complete meltdown, as if the darkness belonged to them rather than to her. As if an artist is obligated to remain inside the version of themselves that their audience found most commercially useful. She changes anyway, because she always has. So what is the real story of Billie Eilish? It is not the bedroom recording, or the Grammy sweep, or the aesthetic that an entire generation adopted as their own. It is a 13-year-old who made something real in a small room with her brother and accidentally handed the music industry a phenomenon it had no idea how to contain. Who navigated fame at an age when most people are navigating high school hallways. Who shared her darkest interior experiences publicly, while an industry built revenue streams around the sharing. Who changed her appearance the moment the audience started treating her image as their property. She was never the product the machine thought it had, she was always something the machine could not manufacture. And the bedroom where it all started, that small room in Highland Park where a 13-year-old sang into a microphone while her brother produced, that bedroom did more for music in one afternoon than most industry budgets do in an entire year. The machine came looking for her. She was already done with the first song. Drop a comment telling me which Billie Eilish era hits hardest for you. And if you want more untold stories about the artists who built something real before the industry knew what to do with them, subscribe right now because we tell these every single week. The next one is already going to hit harder than this one did.